Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We're back. It is Wednesday lunchtime, and it's me and Bigman Bakar in our normal spot. Hello to all of you guys in the chat. Mark's with us, Heather, Adam, Ice G. Good to see you all. Hope you're on Green Arrows this week. Bigman, how are you doing, and are you on a Green Arrow?
Yeah, hello, Gianni. Hello, and welcome to all the listeners and viewers. I am actually. I've gotten 89 points this week. So hopefully, if nothing drastic happens in the Liverpool game, I should be on the green at the end of the game week.
Like that. I'm hoping I am as well. Although I don't own any Liverpool players because Jota and Darwin, and we're going to speak about their replacements, won't be in action tonight. We don't think Salah will be either. So in today's show, we're going to be doing the big questions of the week: chip strategy, best defenders, best Darwin and Jota replacements. We've got you covered. Let us know your score in the chat. I can see Gary's hit 96 points already. Not bad there, Gary. Do be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We reached 7,000k subs the other day, which was awesome. Thank you, team, for supporting the channel as always. Big man, let's just review last couple of days. Man City, how are you feeling about that? Like, you had Ake, I had De Bruyne. Both of us pretty disappointed. Did you see my clip that I put out from the FPL show? No, yeah, it was FPL show where I said I'm not confident on Ake, and you could see a rogue left back appearance from Akanji. I literally called it. It was unbelievable.
You were right. I mean, fair play.
I mean, it was pure guesswork. Like,
I assume, but it was well called. I guess Ake was in the red zone, which is why he got benched. And this seems to be, just one of those game weeks where I just have the feeling that if this game week was played, let's say 99 times out of 100, this double game week, Darwin and Jota would have smashed it. Ake would have kept a clean sheet. De Bruyne would have done well as well. It's just very unfortunate the way it's turned out. I'm just sort of happy coming out of this with the green because I see a lot of people with, low scores this week. A lot of good teams with good scores this week. I mean, you look at free hit teams this week, Gianni, and they're not doing well at all because all the single game weekers, the likes of Saka, Watkins, Solanke, the Arsenal defense, all those guys have smashed it, right? So anyone who's on a free hit this week and who's
or a wild card,
double game weekers or a wild card has not done well. So yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of grateful that I haven't really ended up on the wrong side of variance. A lot of people have triple captain Darwin, Jota again. Very, very unfortunate.
Yeah, Lungani says Pep Buttice. Gotta love that. Although, look, Lungani, whilst I can brag about the Ake left back situation, I also said in the same section, which I didn't clip and put on my socials, that KDB will play twice and Alvarez won't. So, I was completely wrong on those two things.
I'm glad I was right about De Bruyne because
you called that.
At no point was I considering him, and he's just been a total disaster.
Yeah, I know, he really has been. And obviously he goes in the Champions League games and always puts up in a performance and gets the equivalent of FPL points. Good to see. We've got viewers from all over the world. Let us know where you're watching from today. But I can see we've got a friend watching all the way from Oman. Hello, Pep Teta from Oman. Shout out to you. And Rich says, Gianni's in a hotel again. Yes, I am. I'm actually in a Premier Inn yet again. So I'm on the good Wi-Fi. I won't be showing you my lunch this time. You might remember last time we spoke, I showed you, I made you guess what I was having for lunch, and you rightly guessed fish and chips. But exactly. All I've got today to show is a croissant left over from breakfast. So, a bit underwhelming today. Hello from the North Pole. I don't believe you, Alif. I don't believe you. I believe Melbourne. I believe Snowdonia. I believe a few of them. I don't believe North Pole. Prove it. Mombasa, Kenya. Yeah, I hear you there. North Pole, I'm not sure. Big man, let's look ahead, shall we? Because there's loads to look ahead to. So I feel like we should crack on with our burning questions fairly sharpish this week. I think the biggest question so far is probably going to be centered around Darwin and Jota. Before I guess we talk about individual replacements, talk to me about how many players you think it's acceptable to have out in game week 26. Obviously, no Spurs, no Chelsea, no Luton, and no Liverpool. Do we need to get an 11? Do we take -4s or -8s to get 11 out, or can we go in with 10?
I don't think there's a hard and fast rule to get a certain number of players out, but I believe that 11 should be fairly comfortable to field if you take, let's say, 1 or 2 hits for a lot of template teams this week. So I would rather do that rather than personally field 10 or go with a wild card this week. I just think there's a lot of information to be gained after the FA Cup results next week, and it's much better to go into double game week 27 or for even into double game week 28 with a lot of more clarity, which we'll get after next week. If we wildcard this week, you're basically firing shots in the dark and going with a cloudy judgment. I would rather take hits to field a playing 11 this week rather than wildcard.
I'm faced with possibly having to make a -8 to get 11 out, or -4 to get 10. Or I mean, my 11th player is a Stupinan, so I'm sure we'll get minutes. But what's your take there? Like, how do you would you look at a -8, or would you just go -4 with 10 could be sufficient? And I know it's so team dependent, that question.
Stupinan is a really tough one to guess, G, and I was shocked to see him bench of the weekend because I was of the opinion that now that Weltman is back, I would have thought that Weltman, being more defensive minded, would play right back with Hinchelwood out, and Stupinan would bomb forward. But that wasn't the case. He played Lamptey as the left back, and in fact, then he brought Igor on at halftime, and Stupinan wasn't brought on till late in. So that doesn't really bode well for him. I don't think it was a rest. And they sort of blew Sheffield United apart. So I'm not exactly confident on a Stupinan starting this week. Having said that, I think you take the 1-pointer and just move on.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel like he's definitely an immediate sell, whether it's this week or next.
I think if you're selling him anyway, then I would. In that case, I think you could go with Pau Torres. I like Pau Torres. I think if you're buying a defender this week, buying a Villa defender does make sense, even though Villa have a lot of injuries. At least they're playing, at home this week. They have a decent fixture against Forest, and they're playing in game week 29 as well against out of form West Ham. In 28, 29, decent as well. They're not blanking anytime soon. At a good price, and he's nailed. So I think he's probably worth a shout for people who are looking to sell this week.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with the Stupinan -8, I think, to Pau Torres or Moreno. If my Wi-Fi is bad, let me know, guys, and I can turn YouTube off. I've got YouTube comments on, so I can always turn that off. But see, we're getting questions in. We will address some of the questions. BMax says he sat on his sofa working from home in London with us two on his 70-inch. Not sure how he feels about that. Gotta love that, big man. I hope you've got your HD on for our friend in London, BMac. Glad to know we're full screen. Yeah, okay. Let's get to it then. Before we see some data, let's just have a loose discussion on Jota and Darwin. Obviously, Liverpool don't play in 26. Jota's out for a good few months now. Darwin feels like an immediate sell. If you don't have Solanke or you don't have Watkins, I feel like let's do Darwin first. The vast majority are just going to go to the whatever player they don't have between Solanke and Watkins. But Tony's got to be in the mix as well, right?
I don't think so, personally. Because, like you mentioned earlier, if you don't have Solanke, if you don't have Watkins, I think it's just worth going for them. Simply because Solanke has the double game week in game week 28. Watkins has a very good fixture this week, next week against Luton. Again, a confirmed fixture in 29. I think the better time to buy Tony is probably in game week 29 when Man City are likely to blank. Or if people are wildcarding in game week 30, they can sort of dead end their teams into 29 by selling Haaland. I'm personally not considering Tony before game week 29 at the very earliest. I don't necessarily love the fixtures for Brentford as well. I mean, in game week 27, they're playing Chelsea. In game week 28, it's Arsenal away. I just think Tony is a easy avoid if you don't own at this point. If you own him, then it's fine keeping him for game week 29. But yeah, I'm personally not considering him for my FPL team at all.
Yeah, fair point. Mr. V's in the chat. Good to see you, Mr. V. Mr. V's in around the top 500 in the world, so good to see someone with such a great rank tuning in, one of our regular chasers, Mr. V. So the forward conversation's a little bit easier. Like, we're talking about buying Solanke, we're talking about buying Watkins. Outside of that, Højlund might get a bit of love, but I think the player we're really looking at in terms of who do we buy and where people are really torn on is Jota, right? That if you're selling Jota, which you're absolutely now selling Jota out for a few months, do you go down the route of what seems to be popular on Twitter, which is the Wolves midfielders, Hwang or Neto? Do you look at Arsenal if you've got a spare Arsenal slot and go to Odegaard? Do you go straight to an Aston Villa mid, knowing they play in 29? Could you consider a Bournemouth mid, knowing you then get a double in 28, but a bad entry point? I mean, where are you on this, big man?
My first question to you on this is that Jota is dropping tonight. Have you made that decision of selling him? Have you sold him already?
Oh man, I didn't realise Jota was dropping tonight. Do you know what? I'm just going to check. And if anyone doesn't know, if you go on the transfer tab and you go list view, you can see your selling price, and you then know if you can soak up a price drop. So Jota is currently 8.3 million. I paid 8 for him. So my sell price is 8.1 today, and my sell price tomorrow, if he drops to 8.2, will still be 8.1. Yeah. So I've got lucky there, big man.
You got lucky there. I got him for 8.1, which means that he's gone. I've sold him.
Oh, who for?
Out of all the names you've mentioned, I think the Wolves mid sort of appeal to me the most. I like Odegaard as well, to be very honest. But looking at my team, I already have double Arsenal defense with Gabriel Saliba and Saka in midfield. So Odegaard wasn't an option for me. Yeah. I think Hwang is pretty clear of all the other guys in the short list. Mm-hmm. Great entry point this week. Playing against a Sheffield United side who have conceded the highest number of goals at this stage in Premier League history. Again, the bookmakers are projecting Wolves to do really well. Hwang is playing as a striker. There's a good chance he's on penalties. I just think there's too much upside to it. I don't really want to overthink it because, the thing is that we still don't have much clarity on how Game Week 29 will look with regards to the fixtures and all. There's every chance that, people end up using people, including myself, end up using a chip before 29 or in 29 to help navigate 29. So I don't really want to plan that far ahead. Generally, I do prefer planning that far ahead. But at this point in time, I just feel that you take the points that are coming your way and you just take the immediate gains that are on offer with the Wolves mids. And you just, Bowman is fine and he's a decent run of fixtures. He has a guaranteed fixture in 29, but the ceiling with Woven, with the way West Ham are playing, is simply not there. Again, with Aston Villa, I personally like Luiz over Bailey because of minutes. I'm never totally convinced with Bailey's minutes. But Luiz is, again, he's a number 6 who's on penalties. Yes, he can get points, but the ceiling isn't quite there, which is the case with a Wolves striker. And let's say if I don't wildcard in the coming weeks, then he's a great run of fixtures. They're playing Sheffield United this week, Newcastle away next week is a fine fixture with Newcastle all over the place defensively. And then in Game Week 28, they're playing Fulham at home. So I really like the look of a Wolves mid. I want to clarify here that I prefer Hwang over Neto because Neto is more of a assister, more of a creator, while Hwang is the chief goal threat. He's had 12 big chances compared to Neto's 2 over this season. And the likelihood of penalties just swings it in his favor.
Yeah, I get it. I get the love for Wolves. I do wonder, though, Wolves have really caught the eye of late. And when they're away from home or playing against bigger teams, we see them often playing on the counter. And players like Neto really catch the eye, right? He loves the counter-attack. And against Spurs, he ruined them. The fixtures look great on paper for Wolves, but actually they're lower block teams. And will Wolves struggle against that opposition? Maybe. But if they do get points in those fixtures, you do think it'll be Hwang with his more predatory instincts in and around the box versus Neto, who perhaps won't be given the time and space he got against Spurs. So I do think if you go in Wolves, you go to Hwang. There is a chance they get knocked out of the FA Cup and they do get a fixture in 29 as well. But big man, on your bench, who's your 8th attacker? Like if I buy Hwang this week, sure, it'll be straight in my 11. But moving forward, I'll have the decision of, is it Hwang or Palmer, for example, to bench each week? Like I have 8 good attackers if I buy a Hwang. Whoever I buy this week, there's a good chance they'll be benched a little bit. Like if I buy Hwang, probably be benching him in 27.
I don't necessarily mind that. I'm all for benching headaches, to be very honest. I just think I like having that depth in the squad, especially when Salah and Haaland aren't options. It depends person to person, but I'm personally all for having that squad depth, which would help in the weeks to come. And it's actually better to have squad depth, especially if you're looking to avoid the free hit in 29, because then obviously you'll need a playable bench, right? That can sort of cover. In that case, I don't necessarily look at it from that point of view that it's going to give me a benching headache. I'll address that when we come to it. I guess
Yeah,
I don't necessarily mind benching him next week if it comes to that, but we'll see where we're at.
yeah. Mark says Gary O'Neill on Talksport today said that they need to play against more defensive teams. Interesting. Mr. V says Game Week 27, Newcastle away for Wolves is still a good fixture. Yeah, of course it is. I mean, Newcastle were the worst defence in the league pretty much. Salah comes in Game Week 30 on wildcard for me, says Rich. And we'll talk more about Salah in future shows. BMac, who is watching in London on his 70-inch, has sent us a $4.99 super chat. Thank you, BMac. He says Jota, Darwin, Trent. He says Jota, Darwin, and Trent to Saka, Solanke, and Pau Torres from -4, or leave Solanke transfer until next week. Do the other two. No hit means you start Estupinan. I would be tempted to just take the hit, get all three, and then you're a transfer up. What do you reckon,
I think
Big Man?
a lot of people are in this position this week where they're sort of conflicted between, fielding a playing 11 or taking hits. To do that, I would 100% do it in BMAC's case, because Solanke is a transfer you'll be making next week anyway, like you say, Gianni, because Bournemouth are doubling in game week 28. So it's technically a -2 this week, and there's every chance that he gets something against City. I mean, I won't necessarily rule it out. And it sort of brings you a transfer head. It gives you the opportunity to do something else next week or in game week 28. So I would almost certainly do it in BMAC's position.
Yeah, I think I would too. Pull the trigger, BMac. It's only a -4. You've done well to roll the transfer going into this week. That's a real luxury position there. There we go. Thank you for your question, mate. Eddie says, "Hi, Gianni. Who'd start this week? Walker or Estupinan?" Definitely Walker. There's a real fear with a 10-minute cameo for Estupinan.
Yeah, for sure, Walker.
Big man, let's discuss then some of the other midfielders. Like, you're going Hwang.
Yeah.
If you had a spare Arsenal slot, does Odegaard's appeal lessen now Declan Rice is on a lot of the set pieces? Like, because I really like going Odegaard this week. And then I thought about it and went, oh, Declan Rice's set pieces have been so good. That's a good extra avenue to points that Odegaard now doesn't have.
I like Odegaard. I just think that his points potential over the next 3 or 4 fixtures is more or less similar to Hwang. So I might as well go with the guy who's playing on striker, who has the opportunity, who has the likelihood of being on penalties, and who has
him
the
or Sarabia,
better...
We still don't know, do we?
Yeah, I mean, who has the better immediate fixture this week? So even though I like Odegaard, I just think that Hwang's ceiling is slightly higher, and I want to chance that.
Yeah. Elsewhere, did you look at, I don't know, a Garnacho or a Bailey or a Douglas Luiz? Like, knowing like me, you might not free hit in 29. You buy Hwang, there's one player that might not play in 29. You go to Villa and you get that assurance. Did you look at the Villa lads?
I did. Of course I did. I think Luiz was close for me. But as mentioned earlier, he's a 6 after all. He's playing number 6. Yeah. He's on penalties. Yes, he's on set pieces, but the ceiling isn't there. Why not get the guy who's playing as the striker? So
Leon Bailey's playing pretty
I've sort of said, yeah, but you never know with Unai Emery and Bailey. He's just like, he strikes me as the guy who's like one bad performance away from getting dropped. I mean, 100%. Sure, he can do well in the weeks to come, but you just never know with him. Unai Emery does have plenty of options. So, yeah, I mean, I guess when both Bailey and Luiz are on the field, then Bailey is obviously more threatening, but I'm not entirely convinced about his minutes, which just sort of puts me off. And Gianni, you know me. I mean, mate, I generally don't make early transfers. I don't commit to decisions very early. But I just thought that, this Jota replacement for me was fairly straightforward, and I didn't really want to overthink it.
We'll talk about chip strategy in a minute.
What is your pecking order? I would actually like to hear your pecking order when it comes to all these Jota replacements.
I don't know, man. Like, all week I've been saying I really like Bailey, but I know what comes with Bailey comes with one bad performance and the RB's in. I also know you're going to get a lot of 70-minute subs. But I look at ceiling, and the reason I'm not on Douglas Luiz is purely a ceiling shout. Leon Bailey is the highest, most advanced player at Aston Villa. Like, he's higher than Ollie Watkins. Like, he's close to goal. He's just hit the woodwork. When we look at the expected goals, I don't know. I can't remember if this is from. I'm not sure about this chart where it's from in terms of how many game weeks. We'll let you know in the chat how many game weeks this data is from. I can't remember when I sent it to our producer, so maybe our producer can let me know in the chat. But yeah,
Should be
pretty much
fairly
it's
recent,
showing.
given that it shows that Arsenal scored 22 goals, so it should be recent. It should
So
be last
last
6.
six
Yeah,
game weeks.
it's last
So
6.
Aston
Yes.
Villa are high there. Like Aston Villa are ranked, this was before Man City played last night. So Man City might be a bit higher. But Aston Villa there, like they put up good attacking numbers. Do we see Wolves in this list? Yeah, a little bit lower down. But Villa, I don't know. Something tells me Villa are going to go big again. Like they've had their lull, and I think they're back to winning ways. And because I've got Watkins as well, I like the combination. And obviously, I like the fact that it links well with chip strategy to go to Villa because I really don't want a free hit in 29, and I really don't want to use my wild card till after that. But of course,
I
if
don't
points are up for
necessarily
grabs
want
now,
to.
then go get them now. And if that's Hwang, that's Hwang. So I'm probably 50-50. Like it's Hwang or Bailey. I think I've
personally
ruled
don't
out
have any
Neto
problem.
and Douglas Luiz.
I personally have no problem free hitting in 29. I mean, let's say if the FA Cup results stay the way they are. I mean, let's say the favorites progress, and we only have like 4 fixtures happening, which is projected to be the case at this point in time. And if there are no upsets, I don't mind free hitting in 29. I just don't see a way where free hitting is all about sort of maximizing the weeks around it as well. I just
Yeah,
don't
it is.
see a way where I'll be buying, let's say, too many West Ham players, too many Burnley, Brentford players, Fulham players. I will
100%.
struggle to field a playing 11 that week, and I will have hits. I'll have to take several hits to field, let's say, even 9 or 10 players. So I don't mind free hitting that week if things stay as they are. That's why I'm not thinking too much about 29, because I'm not even sure that will come into discussion after the FA Cup results next week. There's every chance that you decide, oh, free hit 29 is the way to go. So why not just take the points that are on offer in the immediate 3 weeks?
Sorry, I was on mute. I think it's a little bit. I think you're right, man. Like I'm with you, and I shouldn't overthink it. I'm probably being a bit stubborn on 29. I guess it matters slightly more to me because I'm selling players. Like I might be making 3 transfers this week, so I want to know: am I making them with an eye to 29 or not? And I can try and balance it. And I don't want to buy players from bad teams just because of 29. I'm not going to go chasing Fulham and West Ham and Burnley players. But Aston Villa are a different team. They're a team that if you're free hitting in 29, we're all going to have triple Villa. And I could be going to buy a Pau Torres or a Liam Bailey this week. And Solanke is obviously a given. They could be my free moves in. So I'm still not sure. But if I am, say, making that luxury -8 this week of an Estupinan out, I could go to Saliba rather than Pau Torres. If I go to Pau Torres, it obviously increases my chances of being in a luxury position of being able to not free hit in 29.
With Bailey, I assume, given how our discussion has gone in this previous half an hour, I assume you're sort of leaning towards Bailey over Hwang, and the rest are below in the pecking order.
Yeah, I'm probably Bailey and Hwang level pegging, and actually I'm Odegaard. I should mention Odegaard purely because
I like Odegaard more than Bailey. I like Odegaard more than Bailey for sure. I just think Odegaard is slightly behind Hwang, but I think Odegaard is a really good pick.
Yeah, and money's not going to be an issue for me because I'll be selling De Bruyne. I've got De Bruyne, so I'll be selling him to say Son rather than many that will need the money to go Foden up to Son.
To play devil's advocate, you're considering Bailey for game week 29 because Aston will have a confirmed fixture. Game week 29 is still 4 game weeks away. Has Bailey even started 4 times in a row, even once this season?
Yeah, I think so. He started 10 of the last 12, but he never plays 90. And you're right, he's 1 or 2 bad games from being dropped. Like, no doubt, Unai Emery wants Diaby in that 11, and he's tried playing Diaby and Bailey, and it just doesn't work. So it's one or the other. So yeah, he's definitely vulnerable, and it's probably too risky. I think the more I talk about it, actually, especially with your view, Bigman, I wonder if it's a conversation now where I need to go, is it Hwang or Odegaard? And again, I look at 29 for Odegaard. I don't know if I back Chelsea to beat Leeds. Like that's not an easy fixture in the FA Cup.
Chelsea are at home, though.
Chelsea are at home, but Leeds are flying at the moment, and Chelsea are so inconsistent.
I would love
like that first half.
I would love Leeds
Palace,
to beat Chelsea.
Chelsea was so bad, and yeah, they had a good second half. But Chelsea are a team at the moment that are hot and cold. If you catch them on a cold day, the way Leeds are playing, genuinely, Chelsea Arsenal could go ahead in 29.
That would be great for me because for someone with triple Arsenal with Chelsea, I would almost certainly then avoid the free hit in 29. That would work
Mm,
greatly for me. So yeah, I would love that to happen. If you think
yeah,
it will happen, I do think it could. But again, we've got to play the odds which are in front of us, and there's not long to wait before
yeah,
we get more clarity next week anyway.
yeah. I might actually ask my friend who I've just seen in the pub about Odegaard, because I know she's an
Okay.
Arsenal fan. So I might point the mic in her direction in the next 5 minutes.
Sure.
Because yeah, Odegaard is definitely tempting me. In fact, you can actually check my friend out on Twitter. She's a bit of an FPLer. Last couple of weeks ago, when I benched Foden, she only went and captained him for 20 points. So she's a seriously good FPL manager. If you want to follow her on Twitter, I'll put a handle in the chat. And then yeah, perhaps I'll ask her a question on Odegaard. So her handle is in the chat now, Anya Welch. All right, let's move on. Chip strategy. Talk to me, big man. What are you thinking? What's the percentage chance of going with the original schedule that both of us liked? And I know it's hard to say. I guess it depends on what we get with the FA Cup, doesn't it?
You've nailed it. Basically, it's very difficult to discuss chip strategy at this point in time because we will have far more clarity next week and in Game Week 30. So I don't really want to lock myself into any specific strategy right now, but let's discuss different windows to see what we're considering. I think as things stand, I'm more likely to free hit in Game Week 29 than any other week because if the favorites in the FA Cup go ahead, then I won't be able to field a playing 11 in Game Week 29, and I'll have to sort of suffer a lot of uh, uh, let's say expected value losses in the weeks around it because of the hits that I take. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say if there is an upset, like you mentioned, let's say if Leeds beat Chelsea, right? Then I think I might look at free hitting in Game Week 34 instead because Game Week 34 is actually another window where we know that the doubles will be in 34 and 37, right? But the 37 is going to be the bigger double where the bigger teams are playing, while 34 is going to be the double where the lesser teams, which you won't normally own players from, for example, Everton, Crystal Palace, Sheffield United, all these teams will be playing in 34. It's very likely. So as things stand, the realistic windows for free hit, as mentioned in the image, are free hit Game Week 29 and in 34. When it comes to the bench boost, I personally think it's fairly clear that Game Week 37 is potentially the best window to play it because it's going to be the biggest double of the season, and of course it just allows you to sort of load up on the bench players at that point in time. I know it's a bit late and rotation could sort of set in, but it just looks as if that will probably be the window to play it.
Yeah.
And I just feel as if anyone who wildcards in the weeks to come will sort of try and set himself with a strong bench so that he can be in a position to bench boost at any point later in the season.
Yeah, I hear. I really hope we get that cup upset or two, and we don't. The thing is, for me, about free hit 29, and I know you're right. It's not just about the points you get in that week; it's the points you get around it in your transfers. I don't think my transfers change massively. Like, yeah, I'll be bringing in more Aston Villa and Spurs players, but they're not bad teams. I just see it as the lowest upside week going. Like, I really don't want to use a chip for what might be like an extra 10 points from some rubbish Fulham players. Like, I can't see myself using it unless if Luton Forest doesn't drop in there though, and there's no other surprises, then I'm really up. I'm really going to struggle.
To play devil's advocate, I mean, you say that Game Week 29 is a rubbish week in terms of the upside. In Game Week 34, you'll be doubling up on Crystal Palace, Everton, Sheffield United. These are the teams which will have doubles. So is it really worth going for them? I think single game weekers in that week will have a lot of good fixtures, and they could outscore the teams that are doubling. I don't necessarily mind the free hit in 29.
Yeah, and in 34,
I don't think
because you
30. I don't think
some of
34
the
has
single game
massive upside
weekers.
either. I don't think 34 has massive upside either.
Yeah. Okay. So in 34, Spurs play Man City. So maybe you're not that interested in your Spurs and your City players with single game weeks. Liverpool go to Fulham. United play Newcastle. Chelsea play Brighton. Like, I don't see the single game week as having massive weeks that week. I do really like free hit 34, just because the combinations aren't great. I mean, Arsenal go to Wolves. That's not an easy fixture either. So yeah, I'm not. We'll see. We'll talk more about chip strategy as the weeks go on. I think actually, when is the FA Cup, big man? Is it game week? Is it mid next week or the week after that? Is it going into game week 27 or going out of game week 27?
It's next midweek, so it's basically before 27.
Before 27. So if you can put your transfers, some of your transfers off, do, because there's no replays, is there? It's literally just a straight. It goes to pens, I think.
Yeah, that's right. No replays.
Which is great.
Coming to the wild card, I mean, there are 3 windows mentioned here: 35, 31, 27. I don't necessarily think there is a specific window where you can, maybe point a finger that this might be the week to wild card. I feel as if 31 will probably be very popular because we'll have a lot more clarity about the doubles and blanks. But personally, I am not exactly locking myself out of a wild card in 28 or let's say 30 either, because if you wild card early, your team will be significantly different to your team right now at the moment. For example, I think, let's say if someone was to wild card in game week 27, I think people would double up on Arsenal defense. I feel as if they might go even without Haaland and go with Tony, simply to navigate 29. That's an option, right? Again, people will go triple Spurs, triple Villa because of the fixtures they have coming up. Again, would help navigate 29. Son would be another big one. I do feel, and of course you can sort of load up on the Bournemouth keeper, the Bournemouth defense to attack game week 28 as well. So I do see different strategies yielding different results. I don't necessarily think there's a best optimal strategy to use, especially when it comes to the wild card right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I do think there'll be a lot put in the trigger next week, especially if they have a bad 26, because people are reactionary. I think we might see a fair few in the community going wildcard 27, and it'll be really interesting to see that. And I like the fact that as the weeks have gone on and we look ahead to 29, more and more are now open to different chip strategies. Because 2-3 weeks ago, we were all saying we're absolutely not free hitting in 29, and we're only dead ending, we're only wildcarding in 30-31. 1 or 2 thoughts have now changed, which is really interesting for the game. And I hate it when we're all on exactly the same chip strategy. Got a question in the chat. We'll come away from this chip strategy.
I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing either, because it means, I mean, I completely get what you're saying. It's obviously nice to have variety in chip strategies, but sometimes it's better not to have too much thinking to do, right?
I don't know, man. I love the chaos. You know me, I love the chaos.
It's actually better for the more engaged managers because they can plan better. It's actually better for the engaged managers because they can plan better.
Yeah, true. Guys, if you're just joining, please do hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. The Heroic Doses in the chat has just joined. He says, apology if I missed it, but what do you guys think as a Jota replacement being Odegaard? And I did mention that I am looking at Odegaard, and I have managed, check this out, right? You can see I'm in a pub. Who would have thought it? I can come to a pub in England and stumble across a woman that plays FPL who supports Arsenal to literally ask that very question to. So I'm going to introduce my good friend, Anya, who is an Arsenal fan. Anya.
Hello, Anya. Welcome to the show.
Bigman says hello and welcome to the show. I'll take that out, actually. Hopefully you can hear. So look, firstly, Anya, how many Arsenal players do you actually have in your team?
I just have... I believe it's just the one for now. Yeah, just the one.
Just Starboy?
Yeah, just Starboy.
Okay, talk to me about Odegaard. What are we thinking as an FPL asset? Like, goals and assists are obviously our currency. Do you think he's a good avenue to points?
Before the break, I would have said no, but since coming back this year, he pulls the strings in the middle, so he's great for your assists. He's probably more goals at the moment, so yeah, I would definitely say. He's also very consistent, so yeah, it's a good asset to have.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we like Odegaard, and he's got Anya's seal of approval. Anya, let's ask you another question, which the viewers might find interesting, about just FPL in general, and reacting to how perhaps you see my reactions to the game. Talk to me about a couple of weeks ago with Phil Foden.
Yeah, well, I kind of put Phil Foden in because I saw a lot of people weren't, but yeah, I think he's just kind of that kind of gem in the mix at the moment. There's a lot of big players coming in, so I think it kind of gives him the space to move into and try and perform well. He's also got a lot of competition in there right now, and there's a lot on Guardiola's mind, so I think he's yeah, sometimes maybe a bit understated at times now that we've got other players coming through, so I thought it was a good option.
Yeah, definitely. Foden's one of my all-time favourite in FPL, and I don't know why, because he doesn't always deliver points, but I just definitely have a bias there. We can see in the chat people saying hello to you, Anya. One, I just said, CH says, ask what she thinks of Havertz. So we will do, and then we'll come back to Bigman. But Mark says, a Geordie Gooner. A Geordie? Anya, tell everyone where you're actually from.
I'm from Swansea in Wales, so yeah, kind of the other end.
Kind of not Newcastle.
Yeah, kind of not Newcastle. So yeah.
Anya's also got 6 caps for Wales women's team, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, not anymore, but I did. Yeah.
Talk to me about Havertz then.
I really wasn't a fan of Havertz at first, but he's made a very big impact recently. And he's just kind of got the calm and kind of calm and collected a lot of times. He has kind of done that fundamental role recently, so he's become I favoured him a lot more recently.
He's definitely Mr. Chill on the pitch. Always looks like he's not trying, but Havertz does cover the ground. He's a bit like, it looks like he's not trying when he actually is like got good work rate, I think, Havertz.
Yeah, I think he's doing the basics well. He's doing what needs to be done in that position. He's maybe not the most flamboyant player all the time, but yeah, I think he does what needs to be done.
Love it. We're all thumbs up on Arsenal. Thanks, Anya. We might check in with you again later. If you guys want to follow Anya and get her FPL insight on Twitter, you can. I'll put a handle in the chat. Also, big man, check this out. I haven't been on a run since I was at uni, which is 15 years ago. I think 2008 or 9 was probably my last run, and Anya's taking me on a run today. I'm going to get
that's amazing.
Fooled, aren't I?
Gee, you're 34, 35, if I'm guessing, right?
35, yeah.
35.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I was at uni 2007 to 10. Yeah. I mean, I run around a football pitch every now and then, but actual going on a run.
I see. You look younger than 35, to be fair.
Yeah. I love how the chat, who mostly aren't from the UK, don't fully appreciate different accents in the UK. So we had people saying Anya was in Newcastle, and others have said she sounds like Holly Shand. Holly's from Grimsby with a proper northern accent, which is funny. Her accent is lovely. Love that. Who's your favourite Swansea player of all time? I'll ask her. Yeah, love that. Where were we, big man, before I moved us in a different direction?
I think we were discussing chip strategies.
Oh, yeah, we did the chip strategy. So, yeah, okay. So we'll keep you posted on what me and Big Man are doing. I think next week's chat will be really interesting, and certainly the week after, when we probably are committing to a strategy, but it's still too early to commit. Let's look at defensive replacements, shall we? Yeah, defensive replacements. I'm putting Anya's handle in the chat if anyone wants to follow her on Twitter, or I don't know. I don't know if that's her Instagram or not. You've got a spare Arsenal slot. Is it just a case of you go to Saliba, or should we be looking for, again, defenders with a greater opportunity in 29, like a Pau Torres or a Moreno? I really, if I buy Villa, I'm not sure it will be Pau Torres. I mean, Moreno offers greater upside, but obviously Luca Dean is breathing down his neck.
That's the thing, right? I'm not entirely convinced that the Dean won't sort of displace him from a starting position, but of course, the higher upside fun pick is going with Moreno. I think Saliba is probably the better option if you want a defender. I think Saliba is a really good shout. I've doubled up on the Arsenal defense, and I've loved it. As you can see in the graphic, Arsenal, in recent weeks and over this season, they're comfortably best for XG conceded. So they're an elite defense.
Yeah. Do you think that Newcastle fixture, Wilson's definitely out, Isak is doubtful, so it's probably going to be Gordon number 9 again, right?
Isak is actually back. He could be back this week. Yes, there was some news yesterday that Isak is
I didn't
likely to
see
be
that.
back for the trip to Arsenal. So yeah, in that case, I think Gordon could be on the left.
Okay, yeah, and it probably does mean that he's not on Penn's Gordon anymore. So would you rank Arsenal defender, if you can go there, as your number one?
I think so, just about.
Yeah.
What is your opinion?
Followed by, I think I'm torn between, if I have the funds, going Saliba from say a Stupinan, or going down to an Aston Villa defender. I'm still a bit like with Wang and Odegaard and Bailey. I'm really struggling to make decisions this week, which often isn't me. Like, I rarely go into the end of the week. By Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, I'm pretty much like, I'm set on my transfer. And occasionally I'm like, it's between X and Y, but I'm 70% likely to go there, 30% likely to go there. This week, I am three-way decisions almost equal in midfield, two-way decisions in defense. Like, I'm all over the place. It's so tough. Like, what would be so much easier if just Spurs had a fixture? I could just be like, I'm buying Son, or I'm buying, and then it covers you for 29 as well. I think Arsenal defense makes sense, but I also think if you think there's a good chance you won't be free hitting in 29, going to Villa is good. I also actually don't mind Wolves, who don't feature in this chart. Like, we can see it. This is expected goals conceded, I think, from the last 4. We can see, by the way, Forest are pretty useful, which under Nuno you'd expect. And Forest go to Villa. So again, maybe that curbs the appeal.
It's a small sample size, though. That's the thing. It's a small sample size. And the thing is,
but
you
Wolves
asked me
don't
about
feature here. Like, go on. Sorry, mate, go on.
You asked me about the the priority and the pecking order for defenders to get. I think Arsenal defense is probably the best to get, and then if I was buying a cheaper defender, I think I would go with Pau Torres, simply because of the fixtures and because no blanks, 26, 29.
Yeah. And Pau Torres is cheap, right? I think he's like 4.5 or 6, and obviously, would you look at Moreno, or are you completely just Pau Torres, who has got 2 goals, by the way, this season?
I would look at Moreno. I would look at Moreno, but I'm not the sort of guy who sort of wants to guess expected minutes. So I almost always tend to.
It's a bit like the RB, isn't it? It's yeah,
exactly. It's the same conundrum basically, and I don't think Moreno has as much upside. I mean, he's not someone like a Trent, right? So it's fine, even if you go Torres. And it's not that Torres doesn't have a threat himself. Like you mentioned, he scored twice, and with Douglas Luiz sort of taking those corners and getting those deliveries in, Pau Torres is not a bad shout for a goal.
Yeah, true. And it was great to see him come back. Like, I saw his individual highlights against Fulham, and he's just a level above. And I know there's injuries at Villa, but he's too good. Just a quick nod before we see your team then, big man. Ait-Nouri is a player I also like, just worth noting. Like, we don't need to necessarily discuss him in detail, but just Ait-Nouri, I think, offers something. And Abir does ask about him, leaves me enough money to get Salah without a hit next week. Yeah, although we don't know if Salah's actually going to be back next week, Abir, so wait and see on that. Thank you for the super chat as well from No Limit. If you've got a question, No Limit, let us know. You've just sent us money without a question. But yeah, that's lovely of you. Big man, it's about time we see your team. Guys, hit the like button. There's 279 of you watching live. Hello to all the guys watching on Catch Up on Demand as well. We're recording this Wednesday lunchtime. Make sure you subscribe to Chasing Green Arrows as well. Like, loads of you actually just sit there and go, I think I'm subscribed. I don't even think about it, hit the button. But I promise you, there's loads of you watching that probably haven't hit that button that might want to. So do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Big man, your team. Talk us through it.
Yeah. As mentioned earlier, Jota is gone for Wang, and Darwin will go for Watkins. The playing 11 picks itself. There's thankfully no benching headaches this week. I'll just chance playing Charlie Taylor. I think he's going to get a 1-pointer at best, but it is what it is. And Ake,
I've got him too.
I think Ake will start. So he's not really concerned. Charlie Taylor actually has done really well for me this season. He's played twice. I've so started him twice, and he's gotten me 16 points across those 2 fixtures. So I'm sort of hoping that, it's third time's the charm. So let's hope it happens again. Captaincy is on Haaland, and I think it will stay there, but I think it's a close call this week. And I am actually considering Hwang. I haven't really ruled him out, to be very honest.
Really? Okay, I love that. I think Sheffield United, everyone sees the battering and go, they're terrible. Sure, they're terrible at the back. But we have to remember Mason Holgate was sent off after like 20 minutes. Like, they may not have taken that beating. And I reckon they could do a part of the bus jobby, and it might be a tighter game than we think. But yeah, I like that. I like that thinking.
I just think they've given up.
So yeah, two transfers.
I mean, irrespective of the previous game, they just look like a side which you can see 3, 4, 5 goals in every game. They're just completely gone mentally.
Fair.
I just don't think they're there.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. I hear you there, mate. Okay. So -4 for you. Good money in the bank. We've got No Limit actually has put his question in now. Should I keep Richarlison or Palmer for a full 11? Who would you sell sooner? You've got them both. Richarlison or Palmer? I think I would actually sell Richarlison sooner despite the game week 29 fixture. I just think Palmer's price point is going to be the long-term hold. And when you wildcard, you'll probably want him in. And I don't mind the fixture against Brentford or Newcastle for him. And Richarlison's not even getting 90 now.
I think out of all the questions and all the discussions we've had in this show, this is the toughest question that you've asked me. This is very tough to answer. I got Palmer in at 4.9, so ideally I'd want to keep him for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think he could be integral to sort of affording a strong wildcard team later on as well. And Richarlison, as you mentioned, has a great run of fixtures from game week 27 and has a confirmed fixture against Fulham in game week 29. He's playing as a striker. Ange Postecoglou is a very attacking manager. We've seen what he's done in recent weeks with Richarlison. So I want to keep both personally this week. If I was sort of forced into selling one, like we just had that question where the listener was asking which one to sell to field of playing 11, I would probably sell Palmer, but it would be a very reluctant sell if I'm being very honest.
Yeah, I think it depends. If you see yourself wildcarding with having sold Palmer and bringing him back, and you paid 4.9 for him, that gives you an extra probably $500,000 less on your wildcard spend. So just think about that. Team value does matter less and less as the game weeks go on. It's more important at the start of the season than the end. But that $500,000 could be big on wildcards. So I don't know. That would definitely play part of my thinking. Also, just monitor now. Son is back. And Werner and Slanky are waiting in the wings. If Richarlison's having a bad game, like last week, he will be the first sub. Like you'll see Maddison and Son and perhaps even Kulu staying on the pitch, but Richarlison making way for a Werner or a Brennan. So yeah, worth noting that, guys. But great questions. Thank you for the super chat as well. I think you're fairly well set, big man. This is going to be a good week for you. I mean, having seen Haaland scored last night, would you really consider other captaincy options?
Realistically, I am actually. It's just Wang, which I'm considering. Saka's a good shout as well, but I think it's going to be between Haaland and Wang. This seems like that kind of week where you sort of can afford to roll the dice if you're chasing by a long margin. But because I've been doing well, I might as well play safe with Haaland. It's just that sort of week. I mean, I'll be honest. I think I'll likely go with Haaland. It's 65-35. But let's say if someone was chasing, I would put anyone off it. I think it's a good shout.
Yeah, fair point. I think for me, it'll be Captain Haaland. I'll show my team selection on Friday's show. I'll show my team on Friday's show where it will have a -4 or a -8. So, big man, my moves are going to be Darwin to Solanke, locked in. Selling Jota, just not sure if it's for Odegaard or Hwang. I think you've convinced me out of Bailey. And then selling Estupinan for Saliba or Pau Torres or Moreno.
Yeah, I think probably go with Saliba in that case, no?
Probably Saliba. And not if I go Odegaard.
I think yeah, exactly.
So
that's the thing.
Free Arsenal. No.
I just feel as if Hwang and Saliba are stronger than Odegaard and Pau. I just feel that way.
Yeah, now the two you own, so our teams then become very similar.
I mean, is that a problem? I mean, I can just sort of, I can just sort
it's
of
a little
block.
Problem, yeah.
I can sort of just block you out of chasing me, man. I have a good points lead over you. It's getting healthier by the day, so I can sort of block you out of chasing me for at least the next 1 or 2 weeks.
I'm a bad FPL manager in the respect that I will go I don't want Saliba, I don't want Hwang, because that's who everyone else is picking. And I won't just go, who's the better pick? I will consider who's the best pick, and I will also consider who all my mates are buying. And that's so wrong. Like, just go for the guy who's going to get the most points. But obviously, you guys get into my head, and I like to be different, clearly.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, I sort of try and play more objectively.
Which I'm trying to get towards.
To each to their own.
School of thought.
To their own.
No, I want to be a little bit more templatey, if you like. I want to be a bit more strategic, you could say.
To be fair, you did triple captain Haaland last week, and you loaded up on, Liverpool and City. I don't think you've been very anti-template this season. You've sort of meandered along with. You sort of. I know you haven't been very pro-template, but you sort of meandered along with it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've covered the main pieces this season.
Exactly.
Like when I have gone on my own school, it's been like, I've gone without a Richarlison, so I can go early on Jota or whatever. It's not been nothing radical.
Yeah. And no Mbomo as well at the start of the season, I guess.
Yeah, good memory. No, but not owned him once. Yeah, not owned him once. I think I had Matoma. Yeah. And I went Pascal Gross and then sold him for a 10, an 11, and an 8, Pascal Gross, in the last 3 weeks. Also, I can get Jota early for a hit. Sean says, I have won from 5 million to 400k in 10 game weeks. A -4 each time on players playing Sheffield United and Burnley. Love that. So Sean's gone proper aggressive, taking a hit every week for someone that plays Burnley or someone that plays Sheffield United. And look at that rank rise. 5 million to 400k is amazing, Sean. Absolutely well played. Ice G says, who is Anya captaining? Anya, any idea who you're captaining this game week? Haaland plays Bournemouth away. Starboy Saka's got Newcastle at home. You'll probably go Haaland, yeah. Haaland. Anya's going Haaland. I think I am too. Good questions, guys. Get your questions in. We'll try and answer a few. Gross on 23 bonus points. Wow, that is massive this season. I wonder if there's many few better than that. Yeah. Worth rolling a transfer if you can field a full 11. Yes, Mateus, because next week information is going to be king. You'll know about the FA Cups. Tony B says play a Stupinan or Taylor. Oh, big man. Would you play Taylor just because you're more confident of a start?
Not necessarily. I think it's very close. I think I guess that Stupinan is to be benched and you can just chance it with Taylor, but they'll both likely end up getting 1 pointer anyway, so it won't matter. That's the way I'm thinking.
Yeah. Do we think Archer will be fit again, or is he a sell from -4? I don't know. I haven't looked into Sheffield United team news. I mean, I'd just say go off forums and press conferences. Can you update? Do you know Archer's fitness state?
Nope, I have no idea.
No, unless you own him, you're not going to care. Michael, is it time to come off one of the City mids for Hwang? I think De Bruyne could be injured. Like, he didn't even warm up yesterday. So possibly, I mean, wait and see if we get De Bruyne training photos and what Pep says in his press conference. But what's your take on De Bruyne?
I think as of now, Pep did say with the information we have that, he has niggles and he felt something in his hamstring and they didn't want to risk him according to the medical staff. The next game is on Saturday. I think it'll come too soon for him, personally.
Yeah. Would you guys consider McGinn? Worth noting,
if De Bruyne is out, what are you doing with De Bruyne if he's out?
I don't know. I think I probably, if he's out and I think he's going to be back for the Manchester derby, I probably hold. I like De Bruyne in the Manchester derby at home at the Etihad. I want him for that fixture.
But luckily, even if he's out, you still have enough to play 11 anyway, right? With the transfers you're making.
No, the transfers I'm making.
Taylor.
No, I'm starting Taylor. I need to make a -8 to get a full 11 out this week. If a Stupinan is being sold, or I can make a -4, play a Stupinan and hope to get 11.
Basically that.
So De Bruyne. I mean, I'm not going to make a -12 for De Bruyne, but De Bruyne, I'm holding regardless, and then I can sell next week if I need to for a Spurs mid.
But what is the guarantee that he'll be back next week?
Yeah, there isn't one, which is why. So I might sell him.
I just think in your position, I think I'll probably sell De Bruyne if he's out this week. I don't think it's too. Superman is
is
like a 1-pointer anyway, right? There's not like a huge upside.
Yeah,
to it.
true. But there's no midfielders I want though. That's like, other than Hwang or the Jota replacement. That's one
Hwang and
role.
Odegaard.
No, I want to go Spurs midfielders. So I want that, and that you can't buy them this week. So I want to, I see myself going into 29 with at least 2 Spurs midfielders.
The thing is, if you buy Hwang and Odegaard for, let's say, De Bruyne and Jota, that is going to give you enough to get Son for 14, 27. So Spurs is not going to be a problem.
True. Yeah, it gives me an option, but then we're talking -8s or 12s.
Yeah, but if let's say De Bruyne is out, Jota is out, you have Stupinan, and you have Darwin, then you have little option, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think we're going to have a definite on De Bruyne, and I might just have to chance it. I mean, he was named on the bench, but was it named on the bench just to sit there? So it looks like he could come on when actually he has no chance of playing. I don't know.
I think we might hear. I think we might hear something on De Bruyne before the deadline, because it's a Saturday game and it's a Saturday deadline. It's a late Saturday deadline, actually. It's like it's 3 p.m. UK deadline. So there's every chance that we hear something on De Bruyne.
True. Yeah. Last one from Sam and Lee. Would you consider McGinn? No, he was actually deeper than Douglas Luiz in Kamara's absence. Worth noting, slightly deeper. They played pretty much level pegging, but with Kamara out, McGinn's got more defensive responsibility. Guys, that is all we got time for. Be selling Adebayo, he's injured. So we've got time for. Bigman and me will be back on Wednesday. Bigman will be posting his team on Twitter, but we know your moves pretty much already. So yeah, for now, we'll say goodbye. He's been Bigman up in Gianni, from a pub in the middle of the country. Yeah, and we'll see you. Yeah, good luck this game week. See ya on Friday.